Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Deal with Vehano Joseph. This is a show dedicated to all levels of entrepreneurs looking to scale and improve their lives. So let's dive on in with our next guest. Hello, Beyond the Deal Nation. Welcome back to another episode where we dive into strategies, insights, and real-world lessons that help entrepreneurs, investors, and business owners scale their success. Today, I have a huge pleasure in welcoming Mateja and Mel Whatley, the dynamic duo behind PMI Atlanta West, a top-tier property management company that's helping real estate investors maximize their returns and streamline operations. With their years of experience in real estate investing, property management, and growth, Mateja and Mel have built PMI Atlanta West into a company that takes the stress out of property ownership while helping investors scale with confidence. So without further ado, welcome Mel and Mateja.
Hey, thank you guys
so much. Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so tell me about your journey. Let's start with where you guys started and what led you to opening PMI Atlanta West.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, I've always had an interest in real estate, wanted to build wealth, even in the military career coming out, in college. These things were of interest. And I got a real estate license in 2006. But was in my 20s. Nothing, I learned a lot, did a little property management then, learned about real estate.
Mel, to go back, you were in the military?
I was.
You say,
yeah.
Oh, thank you for your service. Oh, wow. In the Air Force. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I went to the Air Force Academy, actually, out of high school, for
which state? Which
Colorado
state?
Springs in Colorado. And stuff.
Amazing.
Then was active duty in North Carolina for a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've grown up in those growth markets. Looks like Colorado is quite a big growth market, and
it is. I grew up. I spent 40 plus years of my life in Atlanta. So that's that's a big part of the story is knowing Atlanta. Starting to know it from a real estate perspective as far back, really even before, but like officially in 2006, starting to watch the market and try to find my catch my wave in real estate in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which didn't really take off until like 2018. We're here we are. But yeah, so when Mateja graduated college and when we started our lives together, we both had professional careers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we made a really good purchase with our first property. We actually in 2012 we did a 10-year mortgage on a property that we could it was a lot less expensive than we could afford. But, and made a plan to pay it off in 7 years. So we're really frugal, knowing that we wanted to use real estate as a way to grow our wealth, even early.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get in a cash position in that house. So that's as far as we thought then. Long story short, that 5 years into that, we were able to refinance that house, buy a new house to live, keep it as a rental, and then at the same time buy another rental. Now we have 3 houses. We're like, oh, we did that. So that's where the bug kind of started. I did a sabbatical from my freshman career in 2018 saying, okay, we got some momentum. I'm going to go after this. Going to give it my all. Started reading a lot, following folks that reactivated my license and just started BRRRR. And at that time, the BRRRR strategy, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. We basically were doing our version of that, and it was good. And that, we started doing that in 2018. Moving forward, it was a interest rate dropping environment, which is great for refinancing. So every 6 months, it's like, it's better, So so there, they say don't time the market. Definitely not. Because look, again, I started in 2006. I didn't really get my good break. I didn't get the timing didn't happen for me until 2018,
Yeah.
So. But it was something I wanted to use to build wealth. So that's how it started. And then fast forward, as I stepped out of the corporate, it was like, what should we do? Flip houses, which we have a huge story around that. What's my niche? That wasn't good with that. Retail sales, okay, but
so
it was around operations.
Let's go back. Let's dig into that. That because I know it's Yeah, let's dig into to flipping and you know what, these are lessons. It's not, you know, failures or anything like that. I think those are, it's kind of just teaches you, you know, what you want to focus on. And I know I don't want to deal with this. I'd rather deal with that, right? So love to hear more about the flipping, because I think a lot of people, when you get into real estate, that's where they teach you, like, okay, hey, go flip the contracts or whatever, or buy a house, renovate and sell it, instead of, you know, holding on to it and building that equity position. So yeah, tell the listeners more about that. Before we dive into the flipping career, Mateja, tell us about your background, kind of, you know, where did you start, and when did the real estate bug bite?
Sure, sure. Well, I'm a CPA. I still keep my license active, even though I don't really use it that much. But I started my career as an external auditor and then as a consultant for a national CPA firm. And then I kind of just like follow Mel's footsteps as far as real estate. It was hard at the beginning. I was like, no, that's a lot of money. I don't want to do this. But
Yeah,
when I saw,
scary.
okay, you can build wealth that way, I kind of relaxed a little bit, right?
Yeah, like maybe
Number
eight houses in, like every time I know I'm like, this is good. I need that because I'm like, "Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
And I need to be held back a little bit. But every time I'm like, I know this feels like a good, and I'm learning too. I don't, I'm having to trust myself. And is this a good decision? So I'm having my reservations. And I know I'm going to fight this big wall, like, of course. But yeah, so after about house number 8 or so, she's like, okay, I think this is, maybe you're on something.
It's a balance, though. He's a risk taker and I'm not. So it kind of like we balance each other out. And I feel like that's why we're getting in good deals and keeping good flow.
Yeah. No, that's important to have that, you know, sounding board in any business, and a lot of that dynamic duos happen with the CEO and the COO, where you have somebody that's, you know, more internally focused and somebody that's more externally focused. It's a powerful combination, and you know, finance background is huge, because you know some people just don't give
Yeah.
any thought to that. So it's what a great combo. Yeah. So tell us about the flipping, you know, kind of, you're in Atlanta, you've just now got into the, I guess it's, I mean, for what you said, 15 is like a pretty, after 2012, things just went, you know, cuckoo. And
Yeah.
things started to really accelerate, even single family, everything. Yeah, what a time. Okay, so you did flipping. Like, tell us how that went and why you thought that wasn't the
Well,
path for
we
you.
thought we will, but
Yeah.
we didn't do flipping.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's the plan was, okay. I'll wholesale a few. Definitely going to buy and hold. That's the long term play, of course. But for active income, we did try. I was, but something we were very conservative. We did not do a hard money loan, and that really saved us in this case. I was like, okay, worst case, if we run into a hard situation, if we get screwed over a little bit by contractors, we can at least just hold on to the asset. And that did happen times 3. I was, at the time I was still working and traveling every week, and hard to manage the project. Long story short, it just didn't, at the end of it took what we thought would be like, I don't know, 8 months, and this amount of money in was 15 months and like 3 times the amount of money we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple contractors, it didn't go well.
But we learned a lot from that. I learned a lot about myself, really, in that situation, and it made me, how am I going to be successful in real estate? I learned that, maybe I could go back to flipping at another time, but it helped guide me towards where I'm successful now in property management.
Yeah. And so, yeah, let's dive into that. So you've gotten your licks on some of these, and those are lessons you learn from, like, better vetting out contractors, because you just don't know. Like, it's just, we're dealing with people at the end of the day, right? So ultimately, we're always going to have to, rebalance or adjust or work with people if they're willing to improve and grow. So, and I've always been that, fault in my business, where I've always just said, okay, well, they can do better, they'll learn better, and sometimes you just got to cut the cord and move on. And it's just lessons you learn, and then lessons you learn through growth. So, I always embrace that. Tell us about your then journey into PMI, and what drove you to opening that property management. It's a very, for the listeners, I've always looked at property management as like after I've owned properties, then I would look at property management. And as a business, I never thought I would ever go down that path, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone, I say this a lot, I don't think anyone ever wakes up like, oh, I'm going to be a property manager. I can't wait. But no, it was just like that experience with the flip, like looking at myself, like taking a better look, looking more deeply at how am I a success, and even looking back in the past. And it is like, I just find myself more focused on operations. And, at the time it was Metaja, like in my mind, it's like, look, we're investors. That's what we'll do. We're like, no, you're going to have a job. You're going to do something. Yeah. You can be a flipper if it works. You can be a retail style, but you're not just an investor, but I'm focusing on that side of it. But I was like, I have to, what can I do and what can I give back to, I feel like I'm having success. At this time we have, I don't know, 7, 8 properties, 6, I don't know how many, but we're on our path. We're getting to a year at a nice clip, and it's working out.
Excellent. Yeah.
But I was like, okay, so how can I give to the real estate community? And it is with property management. My approach, the way I approach things, I keep it simple. I do the mundane over and over and over, like the gym stuff, I'm that workhorse kind of just, it's not as much talent as it is as just being consistent.
Yeah.
So I try to,
it's huge.
Yeah, just implement that into looking at every single ticket, as our team every day we have a process, and it's just mundane, and, but that keeps us on top of things. So, things don't rattle out, fester, and we have success with it.
Yeah, we saw a need, we ourselves went through a few property managers and just realized, we could do this better and help others too, right? We already have to manage our properties. Why not do that for others as well? And that's when we looked into buying a franchise.
Yeah. Which
amazing. And I highlighted this on a recent podcast where, one of my friends is the CEO of a retail commercial drinks business. And so providing value to the market, where people need it it's like a no-brainer, right? Like, if your business doesn't solve a problem or help people achieve a goal, then it's not going to be successful. So just like I've gone through property managers in the past and have had to, kind of take the lead, or find somebody that could, take the lead, and really that comes from a, highly recommended and trusted referral. So that's huge. But just with any business, what were some of the biggest challenges you face? Because now you've come from this passive internal facing business to now an external facing business, to aligning your skill set to service these outside customers. What were some of the earlier challenges you faced?
Maybe client expectations, right? Like when you're a property manager, you can't be at somebody's house every day, like that, those types of things. And then later on, not really that, maybe like a year in, when you start hiring, when like I can't, because he was driving in his truck to all those places, and then he's like, I can't do this, that's too much. And then the challenges of hiring people, trusting people, that was really the main things. We have an awesome team right now, but it took some time to get here.
Yeah, people are your largest expense on your P&L, and also one of the largest expenses, and also like one of the most critical components, because those are the people touching, you're interfacing with your clients, tenants, and all that. So yeah, I can see how that would be a huge challenge, and it's hard to not just find, but then develop the right people, right? So like build them up so that they're, so it sounds like you guys have found that sweet spot. So that's awesome. Love that.
Yeah, we're getting.
Yeah. it's always a challenge because maybe let's dig into that. Like I've struggled, I still have the scars of the Great Resignation. And when I tell people that, they're like, what are you talking about, the Great Resignation? I'm like, do you remember when salaries were like double, triple, and you were paying, people were like, well, I can go here for 40% more and all of the stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to pay you 40% more for the current level of work that you're doing. It was such a challenging environment. I don't know if you guys had any of that experience where you were paying more for people than really what they were worth. I don't know if you experienced that.
Maybe like one or two occasions. We really try to establish, the deep relationship. It's not just, okay, like you work here, that's it. I feel like our team is really well connected, or they really like being here. We provide great flexibility, and just sort of like, you're helping to grow this business. You're not just a worker per se, but you're here to help. Like your decisions matter, like you're making a difference. So yeah, we check in with them regularly to make sure that they're happy.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Okay. A lot of investors struggle with managing properties effectively, right? Like what are some of the biggest mistakes you see landlords make, especially when you're taking over from other, maybe self-managed folks?
Yeah.
I mean, first thing comes to my mind is fair housing laws. Some things that they're saying or doing that they should not be. It's always best to hire a property manager if you're not sure of those things. Maintenance, probably asset management.
Yeah, just one of the things is just even some of the critical thinking you maybe in buying or not knowing the market, right? Maybe, but particularly, depends on what they're looking to do. If they're trying to do an Airbnb or PathSplit, maybe buying in the wrong neighborhood or not, kind of vetting things like the way it's situated next to the neighbors, or even like the year. You in Atlanta, I know houses built like from the 60s and 70s, or structurally typically a little bit more sound, and then the yard is also, the lots are a little bit bigger, so these things, just little things like that. Like, so not maybe vetting the house well enough sometimes, and even some of the issues that the maintenance issues that might come up.
Because it's you're saying like it's in the buy. If you buy it wrong, you're gonna have all these other issues that are gonna pop up.
That's what I'm saying.
Like one thing that I always we always have a lookout for, on the multi side, of course. We're always on the lookout for cast iron pipes, because the cast iron pipes always like burst in the walls, or there's pinholes, and it's what a disaster of a design.
Or even like pine trees and that close to the house and things like this.
Oh yeah, and you got the squirrels and the whatever's getting into the yeah. Well, so how does PMI help investors optimize their portfolios and improve cash flow? Like, it sounds like you guys have seen it all. So what do you guys do differently?
So that's the biggest thing. So so when I actually started this property management company, we were I was always looking, again, I was focusing on the exit. When I said exit strategy, what am I putting it in? Is it long term? Is it going to be an Airbnb? Is it a PathSplit? Like, what is this asset? How is it going to produce the most? Basically. So we were getting exposed to PathSplit with our portfolio right when I was starting the company, and subsequently just ended up, there weren't a lot of property. First of all, we all know that property management is tough to find good property managers, and then it's hard to find any that would do PathSplit, especially. There's a lot of established ones, but if they're established, they have their way. PathSplit requires a different kind of process and way of thinking. Just some things that are different you have to focus on. So we grew around that model. So for the listeners, investors is just
for the listeners, Mel, just tell us a little bit about what PathSplit is, because I think it's so interesting.
So PathSplit is a co-living platform. It's the leading co-living platform in the country, I believe, definitely in Atlanta. We actually did some co-living prior to that, but we would never do it without PathSplit support. In this case, they do take a nice percentage, but you can think of them as like an Airbnb. It's a platform similar. Airbnb, if you would sort, for low income folks looking for an affordable place to live. And there's just an insatiable demand of these people wanting a place to live. Like I'm from Atlanta. I had no idea until I got involved with PathSplit that it was this much demand. I've heard, affordable housing crisis, but I hadn't seen it like this, face to face.
They can rent a room, and they pay weekly, and their fees include all the utilities and the actual room. They typically share a bathroom and common areas like kitchen, but sometimes there's a private bathroom, private entrance. Just really depends.
Yeah. And then for the investor, it's taking a house, quintessential, let's say a 4-bedroom, a bigger house, 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, and turn it into a 7 or 8-bedroom, 3-bath house or something like this. That it allows the investor to get a lot more returns. You're also, there's some, helping out the community a bit with the affordable housing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot that comes with it though from a property management standpoint. There's a lot of moving parts, right? People moving in and out, a lot of communications. So we had to sort of build our team a little bit differently than you would.
So you've essentially built your property management company around this platform that is doing an incredible thing, because these are underserved people in our community that wouldn't necessarily be able to afford an apartment by themselves. And from an investor's standpoint, it sounds like you've just turned a single family into a multifamily. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wow, incredible. What an incredible idea. What advice would you give investors that are potentially, and I guess, would you advise investors to go for pad splits if they have single family rentals that are probably underperforming in certain areas? This would be a way to juice up your returns.
Yeah, certainly.
Is it? Okay. Is that your approach? How you get new customers? And
I mean, a lot of them are focused on PathSplit, the model. Maybe they've been introduced through PathSplit's marketing or whatnot. There may be existing investors buying new properties. Sometimes it is owners with properties that they want to convert, but yeah, you do have to. And especially with PathSplit, you want to be careful. When you buy, it's important. So to hit on that point you mentioned before, so, you hear it a lot. Is like you make your money when you buy. Of course, buying a really good deal if you buy it low, but really you make the investment in general when you buy. It's just important. I can't stress that enough. To just think all the things through. And from a PathSplit perspective, you have to be aware of, PathSplit is somewhat operates in a gray area, right? There's zoning laws that that are debatable of why they're in place. They're old, and there were particular reasons that so there's some conflict there. There could be some code enforcement issues, but we've managed, because our portfolio has gone up and down as many as altogether around 200 PathSplits. We're at 140 right now active, and only seen a maybe a handful of them that we've had to shut down, and typically it's because of a neighbor issue. That's maybe been prolonged.
But if the layout is good and if the location is good, then we would recommend flipping it into a PathSplit. Most of our recent buys are PathSplits or single family that's converted into PathSplit. We believe in it. It's working. The returns are
there. It's the most stable sort of one. Like we could look for an Airbnb. We do have 2 Airbnbs. We have a few LTRs, but certainly the most consistently strong performing assets are our PathSplits.
That's such an interesting thing that you mentioned, Airbnbs. I noticed there's been a big crackdown on those also in certain cities. I'm not sure if Atlanta's been as impacted, but those are basically like running a hotel at that point, right? Airbnbs are it's a quite labor intensive. I was just kind of steered clear of those in my investing, but very fascinating. How long are the leases on these PathSplits, like the terms typically? How does that differ?
It's really not a lease. It's a membership agreement, and I think the minimum is 30 days.
Okay.
on average, members stay, it's probably close to 10 months or so now. It kind of fluctuates, but, and that's the thing. That's part of the game here. You definitely want tenure. And in fact, PathSplit's recently implemented a pricing strategy that's more favorable to them. So they keep the first 10 days no matter what, but then the percentage is a little bit less. But then it takes, long story short, it takes like eight and a half months to break even. So my point is, tenure is something you want to push, of course, with the members.
Yeah.
How do you foster that with strangers living together, essentially, right? Like,
well, the first part is in the screening. So we ask a lot of questions in the beginning and try to suss it out there. This is the start, and then.
I mean, these people are looking for a longer term housing. So they're not coming here to, take a vacation. So it's just in the nature of it. Most are not, they're not planning on leaving. They may PathSplits, right? Go from, maybe they don't like it. They can choose another one. But they stay on the PathSplit platform.
Yeah, I think each house you should bank on 6 months to mature, to basically, what was the word, like mature, right? Once you put it on the platform, the first, say it's an 8-bedroom house, the first, 4 people stay, 4 people are going to move. Okay. And then, a couple months later, then 6 people are staying. Like it takes to stabilize is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of it, but like that, eventually it will. That's to me then becomes our job, like as a property manager. If we're proactive and stay on top and try to foster a good community, as much communicate as much as we can. The platform helps a lot. Get our team to talk to them.
They become friends. Mel and I have a PathSplit. There's a few members that've been there for 3+ years.
Wow.
It's like, okay, we live together now, they're friends.
Yeah.
So
Love that.
There's little communities and some of these houses. Yeah. A lot of it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I guess that's a top tip to the listeners. If you're in I would say non-HOA governed house that that doesn't have the restrictions, but you're looking for yield, maybe PathSplit is the path for you. Very cool. Very fascinating, and I think it is a good thing for the community, for those that just have not the resources to go and maybe they've have other circumstances that are not affording them the opportunity to get into an apartment or a house or whatever. But this is a wonderful resource for the community. Let's talk about market trends and kind of, you guys are the you're at the pulse of it. 100+ splits. Where do you see the real estate market? What are you seeing specifically in the Atlanta market? What what are you guys noticing about the trends?
Well, this, I follow a lot of folks. Someone I like a lot is Michael Zuber, his daily financial news. So it's one rental at a time, but it's just basically, but that and other folks. With that being said, and what I'm seeing, and I cross-reference with I have automated listings coming to me every day. So I search it. So I'm like just keeping an eye at pricing and houses that are staying on the market longer and this and that. So so transactions are still, the interest rates are high, 7+. We still haven't gotten to the point to where, so people who have great interest rates, 3, 4, 5 and below, it's hard to move up. They're not going to go get that 7 or 8 interest rate. But like over the last, say couple years, interest rates are high, and then like from here on moving out. So people who bought by today, maybe they're going to start moving up, in a couple years. Transactions will pick up later. I think it's going to be slow again. And some houses are going to stay on the market. So from an investor, if you're ready, I think there's going to be some good opportunities. If you just even going on MLS and only searching for houses that have been on the market for 30+ days and have had one price drop or something, there's going to be a lot more of those. So you're going to have a better chance of getting a good deal. So I think if you do your work and look, analyze your buy box, you can find some good deals.
Which is interesting, as from an investor standpoint, 30-day on market is actually quite normal.
Yeah.
Well, normal times before 60 days is a normal time on market, but just because we've been spoiled 14 days or 2 days or all
Yeah.
that. So I do see that there's an opportunity. If you're ready to invest, you will have those people that are panicking 30 days afterwards, dropping the price, and looking at those. That's a huge opportunity to buy a rental at a good price, and now you can tack on your PathSplit strategy. Wow, you're really putting gasoline on the fire from an investment standpoint. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Are there any kind of specific challenges that investors need to be aware of, in your opinion, buying today um, in Atlanta or any market for that matter? What are some of the things they need to just make sure of? Like you mentioned a few earlier, but what specific things do you think they would need to make sure of it that they're focusing on in this higher interest rate environment?
So you mean in general, not just specifically for PathSplit, but then
Yeah, just playing your
Oh yeah, you can bring in
It's,
PathSplit. I think that's great too.
yeah. So I think in general, it's just making sure that it's a fundamentally sound deal, sort of thing. Basic comes to mind, but like for instance, we're looking now. We're looking. There's a house in Lawrenceville. We haven't purchased in Lawrenceville, but it's a good little market. It's a good community. Like it has solid, appreciation. You don't buy for appreciation, but like I like to consider the fact that this area is trending to,
Yeah, growth market. Yeah.
yeah. So thinking, being very sure about those types of things. Being able to pivot, that's something I always want to do, and I think it's powerful when you buy an investment. Like it's almost like if you thinking that mindset that, okay, I can turn it into a LTR, do okay, and I could accept that, or I can turn it into a PathSplit and make more money. Maybe I'll do Section 8, like be able to pivot.
Yeah.
Like if you're thinking like that, then of course that means it's a really good deal, because if it could do all those things, that's why it's
Yeah, it's a
But I like to think in that perspective.
pretty broad buy box. Then you have different options. Yeah, so you don't just look at it as one. Is that what you would say? As one option, there
That's
are
what we do.
multiple.
Yeah, typically.
Yeah. Again, every asset is different. Sometimes just go, that's clearly a PathSplit. Actually, our last house was already a PathSplit. Like we bought an active PathSplit.
Yeah.
So it depends.
It would do well as a long term,
But
if we needed to do that.
Yeah. We did consider. I always
Amazing.
like to look at the comps.
And it's wild. How many PathSplits do you guys own now yourselves?
We own 7 PathSplits.
So all of you've just moved your whole portfolio to PathSplits?
No, we have 3 long terms and 2 Airbnbs. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
In the U.S. In the U.S. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Number one rule, diversity.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very, very interesting strategy, and I think those are gonna. I mean, you basically just turned a single family into a multi, which is very powerful from a cash flow standpoint, and also just, I guess, for the listeners, why do you find that to be the most efficient strategy from a risk standpoint, number one, and then from a cash flow standpoint, why do you think that's better than some of the other strategies out there?
Yeah. Well, if you think about you're renting to 6, 7, 8, how many rooms you have. If one is behind on rent or in eviction, you're still getting return from the others. So it's not like a single family where you're in eviction and you're not getting any rent. So that's the risk part. Yeah. And then returns, I mean, you're multiplying. It's about 30% more?
Yeah.
Sometimes even more.
Yeah.
Return.
Yeah. Incredible. I guess that kind of leads me into my next section here. What's one piece of advice you'd give to investors looking to grow their rental portfolios? I think we've kind of highlighted here, but what's 30% higher? Gosh.
Well, it depends on where they are. The first thing that comes to mind, let's say it's an early investor. I think it's important, if you have a W-2, whatever it is, you need to have some money source, right? Like maybe your greatest asset is actually your job because you have this source of money. So like if you do have a W-2, like I was so quick ready to get out of it, but I'm glad she forced me to stay with it a little because we're able to utilize that to get the best interest rate loans that we could get. And like you can get, each person can get up to 10, conventional loan. If you get they're separate, husband does all 10 on his name without his wife and the wife, then you can get 20 properties with the best interest rate available to human beings. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you're depending on credit. So like utilizing that is powerful. So I would, if you don't have a W-2, whatever it is, like, utilizing whatever you have as a cash generator, your whatever job or 1099, whatever to build, to just be dead set on building assets. Just think if you have 0 houses or 1 asset, or you just get to 4, like I'm stealing this from Michael Zuber, but just think, get to 4. If you get to 4 and like, this just sucks, then
at least,
then given that you want, but like, if you get to 4 and for the most of us, you're going to be like, oh, this is, wow. Okay. This is something really I can build from. I can take this as far as I want to, really, depending on how much work, and effort I want to put into it.
I would say don't over leverage. I mean, it might be completely opposite from some other investors because you want to maximize, what the money bank gives you. But to me, it just feels better when like, okay, I already paid 20-30%. So if
just like,
the market goes south, I'm still safe.
You have a buffer.
I think that is huge. The beginning, like, I see a lot of people, and me too, like when I first, I'm looking for the good deal, but I think focusing on like just being frugal and making the sacrifice that you need to, like, you don't, like, I'll spend $5,000 on that HVAC because it's an asset, but I'm not going to spend that on, a few pairs of shoes, but I kind of, I mean, being kind of facetious, but it's really important, like in the beginning, to just establish that habit. Like, to me, it happened to a fault because now I can afford all the things that I wanted before, but I won't buy them. Because I've established these habits because it doesn't make sense.
It will be quick to buy another house.
Well, I'll buy one after the call.
That's so wonderful. I think, just to sum that up, I think it's don't jump into things too quickly. Utilize your W-2 to build up that portfolio. I think one of my favorite mentors, Jim Rohn, just had this wonderful thing. He used to say, work part-time on your fortune until your fortune becomes your full-time. And we're so quick to jump into things, right? Like as men, I mean, Mel, and you are probably the same with that. And we're just like, all right, this works. I'm going to execute. I'm executing 120,000% into this direction. But sometimes you forget that, that stability that you have. And I teach it to my students that I coach. I'm like, hey, if you're still in your corporate job, let's get that portfolio up to, X amount of units first, and then you can exit, because all 3 of us have been in a corporate environment. You're not working that full time, work stuff. There's some time to, have a coffee or have a quick meeting with a broker and understand your local market. Go to meetups after work and go understand your local market and see where that opportunity is. Speak to other investors. People are very friendly. They love to share knowledge and you don't have to buy 4, just buy that first one. Get yourself a property manager. Don't do it yourself.
Right.
I tell people, don't do it yourself. You can always, if you can manage the manager, you're setting yourself up to a beautiful, beautiful portfolio where you're just focused on the activities that you're good at. Because some of us, I'm definitely not a property manager. I don't know how to do all that, but my teams have, that experience and so forth. So, wow, that's such valuable insight. My next question is, what's next? What's on the horizon for PMI Atlanta West? What's exciting? Is there anything exciting you guys are working on?
It's exciting, painful, whatever you want to say. Like, there's a couple, good things. But so to start, But let's start with the bad news first, but then turn it into good news, basically. So we're just at a situation again now. We're working with our second fund who have gotten up to like 50 properties, the first one up to, and now they're going to move them off of our property management because they get big enough. And then they're like, well, we
can do it ourselves.
Manage the cost. So that's happened to us twice now. And even in the beginning, I was like, oh, there's no reason why we shouldn't be a part of a fund, that we put into plug into PMI Atlanta West, our company. So that way that fund, we know it's, you're not going to stay here. So, starting to think more about that. I've always had a bit of interest in multifamily. We do with our company, we're essentially managing like 300 unit apartments, if you would, all across because we manage like 1,200 rooms and they're all across Atlanta. So like, I'm like, if we could do that, wow, I'm sure we could handle a 20 unit, building. So I feel like that's another opportunity coming ahead of us investors in the, towards in the 2025, 2026. I think it's already happened on like A class. So like people like Ken McElroy, they've already bought those, $500 million deals at really good prices. But like for B and C properties, 10 units and things like this, I think, where financing, the balloons are now, and they have to like kind of cash in refi with where the situation, where some LPs are. Anyway, I think there's going to be some deals for multifamily. So we're starting to look at that. We invested this year with a couple of our partners through PathSplit, essentially, in one of their as an LP in one of their first 20 unit townhome deal in Carrollton, and we'd like to be GPs in something like that, maybe towards the this year.
Yeah, and that's as far as us real estate investors. PMI looking potentially growing into a different market besides Atlanta, just because PathSplit is growing, so we can grow with them. Yeah, something we're looking into.
Well, I think we have this couple, like with us just now losing 40 properties again. Like one thing that I do want to talk about that with the business, it's exactly that. It's like we saw it when we were around 80 with the resources we had at that time. It was starting to get challenging. Or around 80, 90, and we were trying to get to 100. And I was like, wow, we got to figure something out. And then that's when we lost like 40, the first fund. 30. We lost 30 or so. And I was like, oh, it's actually from an operations standpoint. I was like, oh, okay, we're okay now. We can hang. And we built up to now where we're filling that again at 140. Like we're filling it again. So now we're losing these 40, going to be down to 100. We're going to get the sensor released like in a week or two, and then building back up. So what does it feel like to manage 150 to 200 PathSplits with smoothness?
But that's like we actually improved the operations, right?
Yeah.
Because
how are we going to
not letting anyone go? We love our team, so they're going to be able to actually improve some of the things, and then we're ready for
Yeah. How do we get to 200 and be smooth? And that's going to take some growth. We got to, I can see it clearly. We have to bring on resources. Some are going to work out, some won't. And it's, it'd be some work, but we've always somehow each year we find a way.
Yeah. And it just speaks to your resilience and doing the unconventional path, right? I think not every property management company is going to go and do PathSplits, right? They're going to stick to the traditional, single renter. And, that's where you kind of put yourself at risk by not being able to pivot to different, exits or avenues. And I think what you said, Mel, being somebody that's owned a few thousand units in multifamily across 5 different states, you are hitting the nail on the head. I think there's going to be opportunity in this next cycle. I think there's going to be opportunity. My favorite has always been the sub 50 because those tenants tend to stay because they have that sense of community. And when we win over 300 units, it's like a revolving door. There's always people moving in and out, right? So it's always, those complexes it's different beasts where, I think, and I advocate for anybody starting out, start small. It's fine. You don't have to go for I'm going to go for 100 unit building. And it's a whole nother complexity that you need to build your way up to. But the single family, imagine a PathSplit in a pot. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I don't know if people are doing that. It's quite interesting that you guys did a townhome community. Was that PathSplit townhomes, or was that just townhomes? Okay, long-term rentals. You're buying in the right location, versus you buy your midtown buildings and you're like, oh, I've got like people not paying rent, or they're smart, during COVID, like I don't have to pay my rent, but
Yeah.
The challenges. Awesome. Well, Mateja and Mel, what an insightful conversation this has been, and thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. We're rooting for you, and we're excited to see your growth. Certainly echo that with the upcoming opportunity in the real estate markets. And thank you for sharing your approach and unique property management style with, I think, guys, if you're not looking at this as a strategy in your portfolio, I think you should look at it and make sure you have the best property managers that have the experience with PathSplit, because this is not a normal property management style. You need the right people, managing your properties. So, give Mel and Mateja a follow, and also where can listeners find out more about you guys? What websites
sure.
or
Yeah, we have a website, PMI Our emails are on the website. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, so you can find us there.
Awesome. And I'll share the links below. As always, guys, have a wonderful week, and thank you, Mateja and Mel. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks. Happy New Year.